What is up, everybody? I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. It is Friday. Super excited to be getting into the weekend here. I hope you guys all have some plans for the weekend, whether that's work or whether you're going to relax, whatever it may be. Hope you guys are all safe out there. Kind of wanted to go over a few things today. Mostly want to focus on, a site that I've shown you guys. I don't have an affiliation with this site or anything like that, but a site that I've shown a few times, kind of intermittently throughout videos in the past. That kind of deals a little bit in kind of like zooming out a little bit, looking at where the markets may be. It's something that is very simple to look at. I know a lot of people are either don't believe in technical analysis, which I don't understand why. If you can even use a tool at the minimal level that helps you a little bit more than you would if you hadn't used that tool in this market, why wouldn't you use it? TA, I think, is certainly a tool. But this one's more of a little bit of a macro one. We'll get into that in a second here. I wanted to kind of go over just a couple things as we get kicked off here on Friday. You can see Ripple coming out with, if you aren't aware, you can look at some of Ripple Impact partnerships. Just wanted to preface, super excited through Genfinity, my company, at the end of this month. We haven't announced it yet. We are actually getting Ripple on for an interview, and been trying to work that for quite some time at this point. Coming up first next week, we do have an Enterprise Advisory Board interview with Alan Boehm, former global CTO and head of enterprise architecture at Coca-Cola, senior vice president and CTO or former at Procter & Gamble, CTO at H&M Group as well. That's going to be Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Next Friday, we have one of the individuals or the head of Bitwise on a space, I'm almost positive. Bitwise, one of the spot Bitcoin ETF approvals, which will be pretty interesting. We also have Cody and Alex from the Chamber of Digital Commerce, Eleanor Tourette from Fox Business News, Solo Cisse, CEO of Galaxy, Darren Moore Jr. Obviously, you guys know Darren. He helps us to co-host those spaces as well. But I'm really excited to have Ripple coming on, and that'll be at the end of the month. I'm not going to get too into the weeds with that, but we are going to be diving into all things Ripple, what Ripple's kind of goals are for 2024, looking back in 2023. What we're really going to be unpacking, though, is decentralized identity on the XRP ledger and unpacking the new XLS40 proposal. Again, that's going to be, I think, January 31st. More announcements to follow on that, but really excited. And we actually have, I believe, the head of research at RippleX, also the author and kind of one of the core contributors within DID or Decentralized Identity on the XRP Ledger XLS40. So I'll try to share with you some of that content on this YouTube after that Twitter Spaces goes live. And I'll show you, Genfinity's Spotify and podcast if you guys want to check it after it's recorded as well. Just saw this before I recorded this video, and the Hedera Council has today announced. I should also preference, I think that we have Charles, who is the president of the Hedera Council, coming onto a space soon. Anyways, the Hedera Council has today announced that it has voted to give the board approval to allocate 4.86 billion hbars of additional funds towards further development of the Hedera network and enabling its decentralized governance. The vast majority of that allocation, 4.248 billion hbar, will be allocated by the Hedera board for ecosystem development among existing initiatives, including the hbar Foundation, the Hashgraph Association, and the DLT Science Foundation. DLT Science Foundation, 901 followers, guys. If you guys are on Twitter or on X, just to preface this with the individual behind the DLT Science Foundation, who is Paulo Tasca. I recommend looking up, try to Google search Paulo Tasca's resume. The guy was a heavy hitter within Algorand. He was a heavy hitter within Quant and the Quant network. He's dealt with multiple government and central bank initiatives regarding central bank digital currencies, blockchain, and distributed ledger. I believe he ran the token economics board within Hedera. That's the wrong name. Token committee within Hedera. And he is the head of the DLT Science Foundation. So I would definitely pay attention to what these guys are doing. Very kind of education driven. They work with a lot of universities. I think Paolo is also I think he's like the chair of the board at UCL for blockchain. UCL, a governing board member as well. But yeah, awesome to see more HBAR getting pushed back out into the ecosystem for further development. Saw CoinShares today exercising the option to buy crypto ETF firm Valkyrie. All right, before we move into the weekend, this is kind of what I really wanted to get into here today. So maybe you guys have seen this site in previous videos, but I kind of wanted to run through some of the tools for you guys. Like I said, I think that these are very simple things. I don't have an affiliation with Look Into Bitcoin, but I've been using this site on and off for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years at this point in time. It's free to use. There's obviously subscription aspects if that's something that interests you guys, but even the free to use tools in and of themselves, I think are simple enough to look at for almost anybody in this space. And again, like I said, my viewpoint on TA, and this isn't really TA, this is kind of looking at metrics and charts that are kind of pre-populated here. But my viewpoint on TA is, it's a tool that can be used that, if used properly, gives you a slight edge than if you weren't to use it at all. And regardless of anybody's belief on TA or not, I don't know how you can really argue with that because multiple people have proven that it works. I believe in TA. I don't know how you say that you don't believe in something that exists. Anyways, so I'm going to go through some of the things here that they offer on here for you guys. Maybe it helps you guys, maybe it doesn't. First one is Pi Cycle Top Indicator. I'm not going to get super into the weeds and dry with reading what these overviews are, Bitcoin price prediction using the tool, things like that. I will say with the Pi Cycle Top Indicator, I do know that one of the patrons that I had back here in 2018, because I had been, like I said, I've been talking about this for probably it's been years and years at this point in time. This patron, actually not 2018, this patron used this in 2021 or so. You can see, these two little lines right here, and I'm colorblind, so make no mistake about it. I'm not going to be able to tell you what colors these lines are. This lower line, though, when it gets up above and crosses above kind of the upper trend line up here, kind of marks the market cycle top. Obviously, we knew there was kind of an outlier with a double top in 2021. However, I know one of my patrons told me that he literally used this indicator, sold pretty much the exact top. Anyways, that's the Pi Cycle Top Indicator. I would recommend anything that you do within these types of things, use a lot of these tools in tandem. This is a 2-year moving average multiplier right here. When I look at this, I try to look at, where potential buying opportunities, where are the best buying opportunities in the market. You can kind of look at when we broke down below the bottom trend line here, May of 2022 and October 14th, 2023, when we broke back above it. Obviously, price action below the bottom trend line here. Again, I'm not going to get it super into the weeds. Go to the next one here. And this one's newer, which is also pretty interesting. You can see kind of, I think these are all fib levels kind of in between here. You can see when the market's potentially overheating. Obviously, the color red up here, I can see red. And you can kind of see when the market is totally cooled off or, potentially bottomed. This is probably like I think it was like the 210 that kind of dictates out the bottom when if you actually pull it up by yourself on a chart on the weekly. But pretty interesting as well. Just kind of telling you where we may be at in the cycle, when things might not be the best situations to buy them in, when things might be better opportunities to buy them in, when you might want to start looking towards selling, things like that. The heat map aspects are pretty interesting as well, really simple to look at. Obviously, when you start, well, we haven't hit into like the red levels since 2017 based on this. But you start getting into the, the deep yellows and oranges, stuff like that. We did hit up there last cycle in March. Obviously, you guys know that we double topped in November. You can see where we're at right now as well. Basically, the cooler colors and, the better the potential buying opportunity, the warmer colors, start watching out. Obviously, it has the fear and greed index on here. Just seeing market sentiment, basically. Fear and greed index is interesting because I don't know if anybody's ever actually put out metrics on what dictates out the fear and greed index. I know a lot of people use this. You can see, there's different forms and facets of this. Some of these charts for fear and greed index will tell you extreme fear or extreme greed. Probably interesting though. I mean, you could probably lay this out on some sort of chart and actually try to chart some resistance and support lines if you wanted to do that as well. Levels of consolidation, things like that. But again, fear and greed index, see where we're at there. Let me see if there's anything else. Golden ratio multiplier I always find kind of interesting as well. And one thing to note within this, we hear a lot about diminishing returns in this space. I know a lot of people just that are on Twitter or trying to get clicks or clickbait YouTube videos or whatever will just tell you that assets are going to go up in perpetuity. You hear that a lot with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to $1 million this cycle. Bitcoin's going to 500 grand, whatever it may be. If you actually look at, and I forget what chart it is, I think it's like log growth curves for Bitcoin, how that chart is actually doesn't just go straight up at an angle, right? It kind of curves like this, right? That's kind of diminishing returns. Obviously, as the market cap of Bitcoin grows, the year over year or cycle over cycle returns in percentage are not going to be able to achieve what they achieved the previous cycle. Otherwise, the asset would just go up forever. It's not going to happen. So Bitcoin golden ratio multiplier is pretty interesting because it allows you to kind of look at each cycle in Bitcoin and the growth rate of where this asset was going versus kind of where it's at now. One thing to note is here's the first cycle. We kind of hit this trend line going up here. Here's the second cycle. We're a trend line below. The third cycle, we're a trend line below. The fourth cycle, we're a trend line below. So you could argue, and potentially this cycle we hit, what is that, the red line right there? Who knows? Obviously, these lines are going to continuously be rising throughout this cycle as well. So where it's at right now will not be where it finishes. Right now, it's at $60,000 per Bitcoin. This will go up. That trend line will go up prior to the top of the bull market. So we will see where that's at. Again, I think it paints a little bit of a picture for diminishing returns, seeing that every cycle we're kind of a step lower as far as percentage gains than we were the cycle prior to. Let me see if there's any other good ones on here for you guys. I'm not a big fan of the profitable days one. Rainbow price charts, somewhat decent. Again, just telling you where we're potentially at as far as being overheated in this market. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff that you can kind of get into within here. One day I'll probably show you, because I mentioned the Twitter spaces before, sentiment, and sentiment does... This is all kind of based on price action, right? Except for fear and greed index. For the most part, most of this is based on price action. This is not solely based on price action. This is like hash rate and everything else for stock to flow. Most of this is price action. What sentiment actually does, and we have them, well, until the new year, we had them on pretty much every other Monday. I have to reach out to Brian from Sentiment and start getting stuff slated in for Twitter Spaces moving forward into 2024. But they do a fantastic job at a few different things. They certainly look at price action and look at charts from a price action standpoint. But they look at market sentiment as well. Let me see if I can get to Sentiment's site so you guys can see what these guys do. They look at market sentiment, and they try to pull as many analytics as they possibly can around market sentiment. So, social mentions, things like that, as well as one of the things I found really interesting. And if you watch Blockchain Backer, I'm sure he's probably talked about this a little bit too. They notably kind of track developer activity. I know BC Backer did like a study on developer activity versus return rates and cycles, things like that. You can check out what he's done on that. But the developer activity stuff I think is very interesting because, number one, I mean, there's, I think, 20,000 plus assets on CoinGecko and 2 million plus on CoinMarketCap. I always like seeing which assets or which ecosystems have the most consistent developer activity, because if the network's not being built on, that some red flags should potentially be raised, as well as, all the verbiage and rhetoric out there about certain ecosystems are the best ecosystems, and it's a lot of hype. I like seeing things that are actually consistently being built upon. I was actually surprised, nothing against Ethereum, but you would think Ethereum would be, number one or number two up there in developer activity. As of a couple of months ago, it was like 15, 16, 17, 18 out of the top 20. And then you have kind of things like Polkadot and Kusama and Hedera and I think Genfinity and ICP and some different assets and ecosystems that were in the top 5. that you would expect Ethereum to be up there near the top. Bitcoin not anywhere near the top, obviously. I'm sure with the ordinal stuff, maybe that's changed a little bit, but yeah, sentiment's great. They track market sentiment. They track social sentiment. They track things like developer analytics. A lot of the portions of sentiment are free. Again, I don't have like a cash affiliate aspect with a sentiment at all. We were actually paying Brian from Genfinity back in the day to help write some of the articles when we were doing the Lighthouse Report stuff. And Brian comes on freely onto the Genfinity spaces. We find kind of equal value, more so of kind of a social relationship type partnership. Just they get value, we get value from them. This is gain market clarity with behavioral analytics. So make data-driven investments powered by community insights, on-chain, social, and dev data. Looks like they revamped their website as well. Yeah, check out Sentiment. Some of this stuff's free, some of it isn't. I'm not advocating to go on and buy anything, but and this the Look Into Bitcoin site, like I said, if you guys find this stuff interesting, this is very easy stuff to look at. You don't have to be a TA guru to know that, oh, the markets might be overheated. Oh, it might be a decent time for buying opportunities, and starting to combine some of these things together. Again, from a very simplistic way, this isn't TA, but this is kind of an aggregator of certain TA charts that you might want to look at high level in this space. And maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm just chomping at the bit and ranting here, but I hope you guys all have a fantastic weekend. As stated before, as we get through the end of these, as I start these back up, I like to kind of end them with a little bit of self-reflection, working on myself personally, as well as, a lot of other things. So I will lead out with this and then give some of my thoughts on it. So this statement is, and I just bought this book. It's a ridiculously titled book. It's called You're a Badass Every Day. I'm not saying that I'm a badass. I just started reading this and I flipped through to try to find something for you guys. I'll let you guys know how this book is, though. But I found this quote interesting, and I think that it is true, and I'll give my thoughts on it. So it's when you succumb to fear, you are under the illusion that you can predict the future. This totally kind of it has resonance with me. I'm curious if any of you guys feel like this, but I come from kind of a traditional I was a project manager in the nuke industry and a lot of other things, and running multiple projects at multiple millions of dollars worth of products and projects at one time. Stuff can get overwhelming, and when you have so many different things to do and multitasking in front of you, it does become a bit difficult. Sometimes I like to use the word, especially if anybody out there has anxiety, you know what I'm probably talking about here. You almost get the feeling of being shell-shocked, where there's so many things that you have to do or want to do that you become so overwhelmed that you can't do anything almost. And one of the things that's helped me kind of to get through that in the past and even now, and I have to continuously push myself to work towards that, is just really small achievable goals that I can cross out and see that I've crossed out, and not say, oh my God, I have all this stuff to do, I don't even know where to start. I'm never going to know where to start unless I actually start, unless I actually pick something. The easiest thing that I could possibly do, pick something and actually get through it and finish it and cross it off, and then not concentrate on anything else except for the next thing in front of me. I think a lot of when you succumb to fear, you are under the illusion that you can predict the future. I think also within this is obviously staying present in the moment, thinking about all these things that you want to accomplish, but feeling overwhelmed because there's so many different steps that you have to take to get to the level of accomplishment. Sometimes that first step is the simplest step, and it's just deciding, like I said, to do one thing that you know that you can do, cross it off, and then take the next thing into account. Looking towards the future is great, but if it's so overwhelming that you can't pay attention to the present and deal with the present, then it starts getting unhealthy, obviously. So that's something that I have to consistently work with in my personal life. Just wanted to share that with you guys. And again, you are a badass every day. I thought that the title was a little bit comical, so I decided to pick it up today, and I'll be reading it. I'll let you guys know how that goes. But look into bitcoin.com. It's a free site, lots of tools on there. Same thing with sentiment.net. A free site for a lot of portions of it, lots of tools on there. Cool to see Hedera allocating over 3 billion, or the Hedera Council allocating over 3 billion hbar towards further development. Really excited to interview Ripple about DID and decentralized identity, XLS40. Really excited to interview Enterprise Advisory Board member within Constellation, a super, super heavy hitter. You can see this guy's resume. Yeah, and that being said, I might do a video tomorrow. I don't know. It's the weekend. I'm trying to be more consistent with you guys. It is a struggle for me even to be consistent in these videos with you guys. So like, I'm really trying my best here to make sure that I'm doing them daily. If you find value in them, great. You know, I don't really care about the numbers on here. If you find value, like and subscribe, because, you know, I care about people that are getting value out of these videos. You know, the numbers are kind of whatever they are, you know, and trying to work my ass off through all the Genfinity stuff as well. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay safe out there, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Bye.